Government announces liberalized and accelerated third phase vaccination strategy. 18 years of age and about to receive COVID-19 vaccine from the 1st of May. Meeting chaired by Prime Minister also decides to incentivize vaccine production as well as attract new players. Prime Minister chairs series of crucial meetings to take stock of the COVID situation across the country. PM interacts with leading doctors and top pharma companies. Prime Minister appreciates the crucial role played by doctors, medical and paramedical staff during the pandemic. Urges pharma industry to conduct more researches on threats which can occur in the future along with COVID. COVID cases continue to rise in the country. Delhi goes into a week-long lockdown. Kerala announces night curfew starting today. BJP to restrict large rallies in West Bengal amid COVID-19 spike. Meanwhile, vaccination drive continues at a high momentum with 73,600 COVID vaccination centers operational. More than 12 crores 69 lakh doses of vaccine administered so far. In international news, United States opens up free vaccination for all above 16 years of age from today. President Joe Biden urges all Americans to get vaccinated at the earliest. And in sports, amid disturbance in the football world following announcement of Super League, UEFA approves new format for club competitions. New format to be applied from the 2024-25 season. Good morning. Welcome to English News. I'm Anil Thomas. Now for the stories in detail. Starting first up with the centre announcing a liberalised and accelerated strategy of COVID-19 vaccination drive in the country on Monday evening. This will be critical phase of the world's largest vaccination drive. In a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, an important decision of allowing vaccination to everyone above 18 years of age from the 1st of May was taken. Further, several important decisions regarding making vaccine pricing and procurement flexible were also taken. States have also been empowered to procure additional vaccine doses directly from manufacturers. More in this report.
In a decision that will add more power, purpose and direction to India's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, the NDA government has decided to expand the ambit of vaccination considerably. In a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, an important decision of allowing vaccination to everyone above the age of 18 from 1st May has been taken. India's approach so far has been built on scientific and epidemiological pillars. India has been following a dynamic mapping model based on availability of vaccines and coverage of vulnerable priority groups to take decisions of when to open up vaccinations to other age groups. So far, the nation has seen two phases of the national COVID-19 vaccination strategy. Phase 1 of the national COVID-19 vaccination strategy was launched on 16th January this year. It prioritized protection for healthcare workers and frontline workers. As systems and processes stabilized, the Phase 2 was initiated from 1st March 2021. The Phase 2 focused on protecting the most vulnerable, that is, all people above 45 years of age. The private sector was also roped in to augment capacity. Now, the government has announced the Phase 3 of the national vaccine strategy. It will come into effect from 1st May 2021. The Phase 3 aims at liberalized vaccine pricing and scaling up of vaccine coverage. This would augment vaccine production as well as its availability. Government has been working hard to ensure that maximum number of Indians are able to get the vaccine in the shortest possible time. Government has proactively engaged and coordinated with stakeholders across the spectrum, from research institutes to national and international manufacturers, global regulators, etc. The latest decision by the government will now enable the vaccination ambit to include a vast majority of Indian citizens as well as streamline the availability of vaccines to all stakeholders. It would also make pricing, procurement, eligibility and administration of vaccines open and flexible, allowing all stakeholders the flexibility to customize to local needs and dynamics. Indeed, It is a shot in the arm for the entire nation in the fight against COVID-19. Bureau Report, TD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday chaired a series of crucial meetings to take stock of the COVID situation across the country. He interacted with doctors across the country via video conferencing on the COVID-19 issue and vaccination progress. While appreciating the doctors, medical and paramedical staff for their invaluable service during the pandemic, Prime Minister Modi said that as they did during the first wave, they are confronting the pandemic with full force and are saving the lives of millions of people in the second wave too. Prime Minister Modi said that vaccination is the biggest weapon in the fight against coronavirus. He urged the doctors to encourage more and more patients to get vaccinated, as well as about COVID treatment and prevention. The Prime Minister noted that this time the pandemic is spreading rapidly in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities as well. Prime Minister Modi called for accelerating efforts to upgrade resources in such places. He urged doctors to connect with their colleagues working in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities and give them online consultations to ensure that all protocols are followed correctly. The doctors shared their experiences in dealing with the COVID pandemic. They congratulated Prime Minister Modi on his leadership in dealing with the pandemic. The Prime Minister also interacted with leaders of pharmaceutical industry via video conferencing. He appreciated the way the pharma industry is working even in such trying conditions to keep the supply of medicines and essential medical equipment going smoothly. Prime Minister Modi urged the pharma industry to ensure seamless supply chains. Prime Minister Modi also extended government support for facilities like logistics and transportation. He also assured that government is undertaking reforms for new drugs and regulatory processes. The leaders of the pharma industry appreciated the proactive help and support received from the government. Well, amid unprecedented rise in corona cases across the country in the last 1 month, some states have brought back restrictions to break the cases of resurgence. After Rajasthan announcing a stringent lockdown, 6-day lockdown has been imposed in the national capital Delhi since 10 p.m. on Monday night. The announcement was made by Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, terming it necessary to break a bigger crisis. The state government is also firming up health infrastructure in view of the sudden spike in numbers, with additional beds for COVID patients being set up in COVID hospitals to meet the demands. Meanwhile, Delhi Metro will ply during the morning hours from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and evening from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. peak hours across the network with a frequency of 30 minutes. Also, according to DMRC, during the rest of the time, frequency of train would be 60 minutes. Also, services during lockdown period can be availed only by exempted category of people on the production of valid identity cards. Moving down south to Kerala, which has imposed night curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. from today. The decision was taken at the core committee meeting called by the Chief Secretary on Monday. Public transport and goods movement will be exempted from curfew. Trishur Puram, the festival at Trishur temple, will be conducted without public participation, with rituals performed by organizers as per the tradition. Trishur Puram, which used to witness lakhs of devotees participating in the Panchavadya and elephants procession, was cancelled last year as well. The core committee also decided to ban any sort of private tuition involving physical classes. At the same time, State Education Department has decided to go ahead with the scheduled Class 10 and Class 12 examinations, strictly adhering to COVID protocols. Moving to West Bengal, where the BJP has decided that it will not conduct big rallies in West Bengal, only small public meetings having not more than 500 people in open spaces. Thus, no more than 500 people each will be allowed into Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other BJP campaigners' remaining poll rallies in Bengal. Party President JP Nadda said that the decision has been taken in view of the COVID surge in the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will now visit Bengal on Friday, April 23rd and address 4 rallies in Malda, Mushirabad, Birbhum and South Kolkata. The original plan was to have these 4 rallies spread over 2 days on April 21st and April 24th. BJP functionaries said that all rallies would follow COVID prevention guidelines. Moving to vaccination numbers, the total vaccinations across the country has crossed more than 12 crores 69 lakh mark, with over 31 lakh 3,000 vaccine doses being administered on Monday. The country witnessed the highest number of operational COVID vaccination centers today till date. A total of 73,600 COVID vaccination centers are operational, marking a rise of more than 28,600 operational vaccination centers. Workplace vaccination centers have also enabled a high turnout of beneficiaries. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far stands at 12 crore 69 lakh 56,032. A total of 31 lakh 3,474 vaccine doses were given on Monday, the 94th day of nationwide COVID-19 vaccination. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and his American counterpart Antony Blinken on Monday discussed on phone bilateral and regional issues including Afghanistan, Myanmar and climate change. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said, conversation covered recent developments in India's immediate and extended neighborhood, exchanged views on the UNSC agenda, also discussed issues pertaining to our health cooperation. Blinken also termed the conversation as a warm and productive one. The two leaders agreed to close and frequent coordination in support of a lasting peace and development for the people of Afghanistan. They also reaffirmed their shared commitment to democratic values and mutual support for the restoration of democracy in Myanmar. United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has cancelled his visit to India due on April 25th and 26th on Monday in view of the prevailing COVID situation. The statement was issued by the External Affairs Ministry said, in view of the prevailing COVID situation, it has been decided by mutual agreement that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom will not visit India next week. The two sides will be holding a virtual meeting in the coming days to launch plans for a transformed India-UK relationship. Both leaders attach the highest importance to taking India-UK partnership to its fullest potential and propose to remain in close touch in this regard and look forward to an in-person meeting later in the year. US President Joe Biden on Monday had declared that every American age 16 is eligible to get a COVID-19 vaccine. The announcement comes weeks after President Biden wrote on Twitter that by April 19th, every adult will be eligible to be vaccinated on April 7th. At least a dozen states opened eligibility to anyone 16 and older last Monday itself, while New Jersey and Oregon announced late last week that all residents 16 years and older will be eligible on April 19th. The president had earlier announced that 90% of adults would be eligible for one of the 3 approved COVID-19 vaccines by April 19th, in addition to having a vaccination site within 5 miles of their home. In a video message, US President Biden said that the COVID-19 vaccine is free, safe, and it's how we are going to bring this pandemic to an end. Well, the Palexpo Center, host of the biggest conferences and events in Geneva, opened its doors as the vaccination center on Monday. The center has the capacity to vaccinate 2,000 people a day. The figure is expected to rise to 3,000 and 4,000 vaccinations per day. Switzerland has expanded its capacity to inoculate people against COVID-19 by opening mass vaccination center like the Palexpo in other cities such as Lausanne. In Lausanne, the largest center in the canton of Vaud opened at the Place des Blois, which aims to vaccinate 14,000 people a week. The number of cases has continued to steadily rise in the Alpine country over the past weeks. It increased by at least 4,905 since Friday. Well, hundreds of people formed long queues outside a vaccination center in Turkey's capital Ankara on Monday evening after the health ministry's expanded vaccine eligibility to people above 55 years and above. Turkey, with a total population of nearly 84 million, has carried out around 20 million vaccinations, including 11.31 million first doses since Jan 14th, when it began the nationwide inoculation campaign. Turkey ranks 4th globally in new case numbers. Ankara has blamed lax public adherence to rules and virus variants for the surge, and on March 29th, it announced weekend lockdowns and closed restaurant dining for Ramadan. Moving to South America and Argentina, where schools of Argentina's capital opened their doors on Monday despite tightened pandemic restrictions that included to go virtual classes to curb COVID-19 infections. Schools of Buenos Aires opened on Monday morning after a court overruled a federal order requiring return of virtual classes for 2 weeks amid a surge in cases that have brought hospitals to near collapse. The Buenos Aires judge ruled on Sunday in favor of a lawsuit filed by non-government parents and some teacher groups in the city, demanding a decree that suspended face-to-face classes in the capital region for 15 days be immediately nullified. The decision fuels political tensions between President Alberto Fernandez, who said the school closure was necessary to tame the fast-rising cases in the city, and the opposition-led Buenos Aires government, which has slammed the measure. Iranians covered increasing regulations as the country battles a surge in COVID-19 cases, with the daily death toll climbing over 400 for the first time in months on Sunday. Iran recorded over 398 deaths on Monday, raising the overall toll to 67,130. As a new coronavirus wave spread across Middle East's hardest hit country, a feeling of concern grows among many Iranians, some of whom worry that the authorities have failed to take sufficient action to curb the epidemic. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani on Monday expressed concern as the latest surge in coronavirus cases was the most severe the country has experienced. But he added that he hoped to have a domestically developed vaccine ready by summer. Businesses, schools, theaters, sports facilities and other public institutions have been forced shut, and gatherings are banned during the fasting holy month of Ramadan. In some other international news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lost an important vote on Monday over who gets to join a powerful committee in parliament, dealing him a setback as he tries to form a new government following an inconclusive election. Netanyahu has about 2 more weeks to try and bring together a ruling coalition. Defeat in the vote indicated the veteran leader still has some way to go to secure a majority in the 120-seat Knesset. The vote was to decide who will join the Arrangements Committee, which in the absence of a new government controls the legislative agenda. President Reuven Rivlin on April 6th asked Netanyahu to form a government and gave him 28 days to do so. If unsuccessful, Netanyahu can ask Rivlin for a 2-week extension before the president taps another candidate or asks parliament to nominate one. Cuba's ruling Communist Party elected President Miguel Diaz-Canel to succeed Raul Castro as the party's first secretary, the most powerful position in the country, on the final day of its Congress on Monday. The succession marks the end of 6 decades of rule by brothers Fidel and Raul Castro, who led Cuba's leftist 1959 revolution. The mantle now passes to a younger generation that worked its way up the party ranks rather than forging itself through guerrilla warfare. Diaz-Canel was the party chief in 2 provinces before joining the national government as education minister in 2009, and then in 2013 became Castro's right-hand man. He has emphasized continuity since becoming president and is not expected to move Cuba away from its one-party socialist system. Well, Minneapolis and other U.S. cities were ramping up security measures on Monday, grinding for possible protest after a jury delivers a verdict in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, charged with murdering George Floyd by kneeling on his knee. Citing threat of civil unrest, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz declared a preemptive state of emergency in the metropolitan area and requested security assistance from other states. Local officers were stretched, having policed a week of protest over the fatal police shooting of a black man in a Minneapolis suburb and bracing for more protest over the trial verdict. As jury began deliberating charges of third and second degree murder and second degree manslaughter against Chauvin, Minneapolis and the state officials have heightened the security precautions, guarding the courthouse tower with barbed wire and armed soldiers from the National Guard. A few miles from the courtroom, nightly protests have flared in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, over the police shooting of a 20-year-old black man, Dante Wright, after a routine traffic stop on April 11th. In the meantime, George Floyd's family members and civil rights leaders prayed outside the courthouse, where jurors heard closing arguments in the murder trial of former Minneapolis policeman Derek Chauvin. Protesters have told the jury that they are weighing the guilty on only one man, but their verdict will nonetheless be widely seen as a reckoning in the way the United States police black people. Meanwhile, Chauvin's lawyers argued that he correctly followed the training he received over 19 years with the Minneapolis Police Department, which fired him the day after Floyd's arrest and sought to raise doubts about the cause of Floyd's death. The Kremlin on Monday said that it does not accept what it called proactive calls for nationwide protest in support of jailed opposition politician Alexei Navalny, whose health has gravely deteriorated while on hunger strike in prison. In a press conference, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said unauthorized rallies in support of Navalny would be considered illegal by the authorities. This comes as Navalny's allies announced plans for what they hope will be the largest protest in modern Russian history on Wednesday. Navalny started refusing food on March 31st in protest at what he said was a refusal of prison authorities to provide him with adequate medical care for acute leg and back pain. The United States has warned Russia it will pay a price if he dies in jail from his hunger strike. Well, coming out as a warning, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said what happened to Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny's Russian custody is the responsibility of the Russian government and the world will hold them accountable. Psaki said in the interim, the objective is continuing to push for his release and reiterate our view that he must be treated humanly. Well, NASA's miniature Robert helicopter Ingenuity performed a successful takeoff and landing on Mars early Monday, achieving the first powered control flight by an aircraft over the surface of another planet. NASA said the twin-rotor whirling debut on the red planet marks a 21st century Wright brothers movement for NASA, which said success could pave the way for new modes of exploration on Mars and other destinations in the solar system, such as Venus and Saturn's moon Titan. The Robert rotorcraft was programmed to ascend 10 feet straight up, then hover and rotate in place over the Martian surface for half a minute before settling back on its four legs. Mission managers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory burst into applause and cheers as engineering data beamed back from Mars confirmed that the 4-pound solar-powered helicopter had performed its maiden 40-second flight precisely as planned 3 hours earlier. On to sports, amid disturbance in the football world following the announcement of Super League by 12 teams on Monday, UEFA has approved the new club format for club competitions. The new Champions League format is due to start in 2024 and will run until 2033. The new format will see 36 clubs qualifying for the expanded first phase, where all clubs will play against 10 opponents of varying strengths. This will result in a league table with the top 8 qualifying for the knockout phase and the next 16 going into a playoff for the remaining 8 slots. The format has been criticized by fan groups, not least because 2 of the additional 4 slots will be allocated on the basis of past performance to the clubs with the highest UEFA coefficient that did not qualify for the Champions League automatically but did qualify for another European competition. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of news. You take good care of yourself and have a safe and wonderful day ahead. Do not forget to wear your mask at all times. Also sanitize yourself and maintaining social distancing. As for now, thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Take care.